Imagine that it's September 2011 and the Battlefield 3 open beta has just dropped. If you were on PlayStation 3, Xbox 360, or lucky enough to have a PC that could run it, chances are you jumped straight in. For me, it was just after the summer holidays. I'd gone back to school, others may have gone back to university, for example, and every spare hour went into Operation Metro. Whether you played a couple of matches or grinded it every night, the feeling was the same. You loved it. Now fast forward to August 2025, you've finished your 9-to-5 job, come home and logged on to play the Battlefield 6 open beta on PS5, Xbox Series X or S, or that PC that you finally managed to buy as an adult. The gunplay feels weighty, the maps are immersive, and suddenly you're hooked again. Those two feelings, they're almost identical. The Battlefield 6 beta wrapped up on August 18th after 2 weekends of play. For me, the nostalgia hit instantly. It felt like being back in the Battlefield 3 and Battlefield 4 beta days. I know I'm not the only one making that comparison, but it's hard not to, especially with how close quarters some of the combat felt. It reminded me of Battlefield 3's urban maps and even its close quarters DLC. Honestly, this beta has reignited my love for a modern boots on the ground Battlefield game. That said, the elephant in the room here is the lingering shadow of Battlefield 2042. We all remember how messy that beta was, bugs, dodgy netcode, unimpressive graphics, the works. And the final game didn't even exactly recover from that rocky start. For me, as someone who's been with the franchise since my dad picked up Battlefield Bad Company 2 back in 2010, 2042 just wasn't the game I wanted it to be, and I think most people would agree with that. Now, to be fair, 2042 has come a long way since then. I've had some great memories with friends in its current state, but even now, it still carries that troubled development history. The lack of a server browser, map designs that feel lazy, cosmetics that don't fit the series, it's all kind of just left me feeling a bit cold. And that's why, even though I had a blast with the Battlefield 6 beta, I'm still cautious. Here's the thing though, I'm nearly 28 now, I work full time and I don't get unlimited gaming hours like I did when I was a teenager. But during the beta, I played for hours straight without even noticing, only taking a break to nip to the toilet or grab a drink. I genuinely felt like I was 14 again, sat in my childhood home's bedroom playing Battlefield 3 until I couldn't keep my eyes open. That feeling alone says a lot. Now, it's not perfect by any means, but it was a very impressive build for an open beta, and I'm looking forward to seeing what they have to change before the release of the game on October 10th. I definitely do have some dislikes, which I'll get onto soon, but first, here's a couple of the things that I liked. I thought the time to kill was extremely snappy and felt balanced. I actually made a video ages ago when I first started this channel before the rebrand, which featured a concept where players would bleed out if they were below 10% of health unless they were bandaged. This was back during Battlefield 4 days when I found myself getting killed by people with less than 5% health left when I had put almost a full magazine into them. Respawns were another huge plus, quick and straight into the action. In 2042, there was what I could only describe as a flying mechanic. Any of my friends that may be watching this may know how much I disliked this, and it might look flashy, but honestly, much like how those doom-scrolling TikTok need to be entertained within the first second, I'd rather just respawn instantly and get on with it. Similar to this, the new revive dragging mechanic is something that I believe should be in every game that features reviving. BattleBit originally had this as a mechanic, so it's warmly welcomed again in Battlefield 6. It's one of those things that once it's there, you wonder how it wasn't even in the game before. Not only is it immersive, it's practical. It gets you out of bad situations, and it's honestly one of the best mechanics I've seen in any shooter. Please, DICE, keep this going in games to come. The gunplay in general felt really satisfying. I know some people complained about the new open class system, but I actually didn't mind it. I think what makes a class is the tools that they bring, like engineers having RPGs or the medics having the defibs, not whether they're forced to use a specific weapon type, for example. I spent a lot of time playing a support whilst using a carbine rather than the LMG. This meant that I was able to run around and revive players quickly whilst using a gun that made me feel quick on my feet, which I think for some of the maps that we had was definitely beneficial. Map-wise, Siege of Cairo was the standout for me. Playing Conquest and Breakthrough on that map was intense. Both the E flag on Conquest and the main street were some of the most immersive areas of the map, especially when having street-to-street firefights with the enemy team, whilst tank battles rumbled underneath you in the open street. It was really top-tier gaming. Liberation Peak and Iberian Offensive were both good in their own regard, with Peak having some fantastic sniping spots and Offensive having some great urban building combat, which really reminded me of Scene Crossing in Battlefield 3. Empire State was only available for the second weekend, so we didn't get a chance to play a lot of that map, but from what we did play, I really enjoyed it. The mix of city streets to the close quarters building interiors was refreshing and called for some interesting gunfights. I saw a video of Jack Frags destroying the bridge above C flag at the start of the game and getting over 5 destruction kills whilst the enemies were capping, reminding me of the kind of chaos that makes Battlefield unique. I will say, however, that it was disappointing that the custom search didn't seem to work on the second weekend, even though that's when they implemented it. So even if you wanted to select to play only Empire State, given that was obviously the new map that they'd added for that weekend, you wouldn't even get placed in a game on that map. It's something that needs to be looked at before launch, although hopefully we'll have a dedicated server browser by then. Now, as I said, it wasn't perfect by any means. On Siege of Cairo, there were some easy out-of-bounds glitches that let you get onto the rooftops. Now, I'm all for letting us do that, but at least make it an actual route to get up there. I think rooftop combat like in Flood Zone on Battlefield 4 would actually be a really good addition to this map, but it needs to be intentional. Sniper Glint also needs toning down. On Liberation Peak, it felt like you were driving down a country lane at 3 AM being blinded by a Golf GTI driver at times. No offense, I'm just bitter I don't drive one myself. A server browser would be ideal, although I don't think it will break the game if we don't get one at launch. If the portal mode this time around is meant to be as good as it is, I wouldn't mind trying this out and making a final judgment on whether we need one until the game comes out. The lack of server browser wasn't why Battlefield 2042 effectively failed, so it won't be the reason Battlefield 6 fails if it does. That being said, I do think the Battlefield works best when you can actually pick and build communities around servers. With all this being said, October 10th can't come soon enough. For me, this was the most promising beta I've played in years. I won't be pre-ordering, but I'll be logging in on release day, ready to dive back in. If DICE and EA deliver on what they've promised, Battlefield 6 really could be the return to form that we've been waiting for. And for the first time in a long time, I actually believe that it might happen. My name's been Unzi, I hope you've enjoyed this video, and I will catch you in the next one.
Stop it. Such a little gremlin.